Hi, welcome to the Baby Sleep Magic podcast. My name is Chantal, and today's episode I'm going to talk a little bit about why the third nap is so hard to get. This is a very common scenario that, look, every parent will experience at some point through the parenting journey with their baby. And basically what it is, babies transition from 3 naps down to 2, usually by the age of between 6 and 9 months. And as they get closer to that transitioning stage, that third nap gets very, very challenging. And also throughout the day, usually speaking, the naps in the morning are relatively easier to get. And as the day progresses, the naps become harder and harder to get. And that's why that third nap, and sometimes that fourth nap, if you've got a younger baby, can be really, really difficult to get. So I'm going to go through some tips and tricks on how to try and get the best outcome that you can get when it comes to achieving that third nap. So for babies younger than 6 months, I usually advise resorting to a motion nap. So as an example, you might want to use the pram, a carrier, or even the car to try and capture that nap. The closer they get to transitioning from 3 naps to 2, and the older that they get, the harder that nap is to achieve. And sometimes at home, in the cot or bassinet can be really, really challenging. And what you're probably finding is you're spending more time trying to settle your baby than you actually find that they sleep. And it's just not worth it. It's frustrating for you, it's frustrating for them, and it actually backfires. So the best thing, to be honest, what I'd suggest to all my clients is use motion to your advantage. So like I said, pram, car or carrier. This will not undo all your hard work. That's the one thing to remember. Everything is fixable, and what you want to do is just get that nap any way you can, because if you don't get that nap at that age, so anywhere between 3 and 6 months, if they miss that third nap, you're going to have one hell of an afternoon. And what you're best to do is get that nap any way you can. And like I said, car, pram, carrier is better than no nap at all. And even if that means you're holding your baby or even feeding them, it's not ideal, but it's going to capture that nap. That last nap gets trickier as they get older. So when it comes to self-soothing, they can get that type of practice during the day. So whether it's their first nap or second nap or both, if you've got the opportunity, depending on where you are, what you're doing, what your lifestyle's like, that's where they can practice the self-soothing. But the third nap, to be honest, there's not a lot of self-soothing going on here because it can be quite challenging. And like I said, you just got to get that nap any way you can. For older babies, so babies over the age of 6 months, and if you have been trying to settle them for around 20 to 30 minutes and they're still not asleep, the best thing you can do at that point is abort the settling, abort the nap, whip through dinner, do your bedtime routine, and just aim to get them in bed as quickly as possible and as early as possible. And anything between 5 and 5:30 p.m. is certainly not too early in a situation like this. So that way they're not going to bed for the night overtired. And it certainly won't compromise their night's sleep. And in some cases, they may wake for the next day early, but it's not going to be too early. It might be anywhere between 5 and 5:30. And in that scenario, you can just stall and start your day at your normal time, and then try to get back on track for the next day. The other option is as well, for babies who really, really resist that third nap at all cost, you can still opt for some downtime, and this will still work to your advantage. So, what I mean by that is, pop them in the pram or even the baby carrier and just walk. Or if you happen to be in the car and you're driving around in the car, because in some cases, well, in all cases, we can't force your baby to sleep. This is the thing. We're not in control of when they actually close their eyes and go to sleep. All we can do is encourage that. Now, in some cases, especially as they get older, they're not always going to sleep, but still offering downtime is going to make a big difference at the end of the day. And if they are in the pram and it's kind of covered over and they're laid down a little bit and they're just laying there, they're strapped in, the white noise is on, they've got their little lovey, that's still classed as rest time. So they're not actually asleep, but they're not physically moving, active, busy, stimulated, they're resting. And that's definitely going to help come the end of the afternoon and towards bedtime. Because if they don't get that at all, then you're going to be in for one hell of an evening with dinner. And what you'll probably find, if they don't get that at all, they probably will be really ratty around dinner time. They probably won't eat a lot of dinner. They won't enjoy the bath. Getting them to bed's going to be quite difficult because they're overtired. And then that can also equal frequent night wakings and early rising because they're just so overtired come the end of the afternoon and the day. So to avoid that, your baby will not sleep because that's just what it's like. then still offer some downtime, because like I said, that's definitely going to help come the end of the afternoon. And also take in consideration, if you do opt for that emergency nap and it tends to push bedtime out too late. So if it's any later than 7:30, which to be honest, as a mum with two boys, that was too late for me. I needed my boys in bed anywhere between 5:30 and 7. So if you are finding that last third nap is pushing bedtime out beyond 7:30, what you may want to do in that situation is opt for an early bedtime. Abort that third nap altogether, like I mentioned earlier, and go for an early bedtime anywhere between 5 and 5:30. That might mean dinner is at 4, bath might be at 4:30, their last milk feed of the night might be at 5, and they're in bed between 5 and 5:30. And that's totally okay. It's far better than your little one becoming more and more overtired before bed. And like I said, you can always start the next day on the front foot, and tomorrow is always another day. So look, I hope those tips help for when it comes to trying to get that third nap and managing life around capturing that third nap the best you can. Yeah, if you do find this information helpful, please feel free to share it with another mum or a friend. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.